It's not just brilliant green lawns missing from Huntington Boulevard in Fresno, California. There's something, someone, much more precious that cannot be found. 81-year-old Jane Friesen left home the morning of July 21st on one of her typical destination unknown outings up into the Sierra foothills. As usual, she left the house saying she'd be back to cook family dinner at the end of day. But that day was far from usual. Jane hasn't been seen since. For over a week, the only trace of Jane was an ATM purchase of gas the morning of her disappearance. Over a week later, and the day of our production, a possible sighting of Jane's vehicle on July 21st was reported in the Dinky Creek campground in the Sierra Nevada foothills. As other fragments may be revealed and reported by local broadcast news teams, our purpose is simple. We want viewers to know who Jane is, to keep her in your mind, hearts, thoughts, and prayers, and to remain vigilant and watch until she's found.
Susan, tell us, is this a typical adventure day for Jane? I mean, was she prone to just getting up and taking off?
Oh, yes. I mean, normally, if that was her plan when she left the house, she would tell Melaney, I'm going for a drive. But that's probably as much as she would say. I'm going for a drive, I'll be back for dinner. Or something like that. The idea of getting in the car and following her nose is just, that's what we used to do on trips with the family all the time when we were kids even. We'd pull into a national park and we'd go to the visitor center and everybody would look around and everybody would say, this is what I'd like to see in this park, and this is what I'd like to see, and then they'd work out an agenda to see all those things, and then if we're driving to one of those places and we saw a tarantula crossing a road, we might stop the car to look at it. We were really an outdoors traveling, no agenda family. That is something our family had always done. She always did with my dad, and since he's been gone, she has done a lot of traveling by herself. We took the Marine Highway, the ferry, up to Juneau, and then my mom kept on going and drove back on the Alcan Highway, and she was gone for 6 weeks. I think she went through Canada too and stopped in several places in Canada that were like Mennonite historical sites on her way back, and through the Canadian Rockies, and she just, that this is for us. That's our first thought, that she went up on the mountain road someplace and could have had trouble and been out of cell phone range or something like that. That really was our first thought of she can handle emergencies. We're all really level-headed people. So something goes wrong on the road, that's just something you take in stride and you deal with it.
So common sense kind of prevails, it sounds like.
Right.
Would she normally make herself a sandwich, take some food along with her to snack on, or like we stopped at that store? Is it very likely or possible that she would have stopped at the store?
She might have stopped to get a cup of coffee, but she probably had took a cup of coffee she may have taken a cup of coffee and a water bottle from home. She may have taken a piece of fruit or well, no, I don't think she made a sandwich, but if she picked up a piece of fruit out of the fruit bowl in the kitchen as she walked through, you know, my sister probably wouldn't have even noticed whether she did that or not. She mentioned that to my niece Elizabeth, that she was going to go and look, that she would like to look for a park in Tulare County that she'd gone to with my dad.
As you travel with us on a day to help spread the word, you'll learn that Jane is an adventurous spirit and far from timid. While the current focus is in the Shaver Lake area, she traveled the roads and trails from Sequoia National Park through a wide range of the Sierras. The truth is, Jane could be lost or could have come by harm's way any number of places in our local mountains.
We're with Susan, one of the daughters of Jane Friesen, who's missing, and every place along the way to pray there, to Dinky Creek, we're stopping to leave off a missing persons flyer. There was a possible sighting of Jane's car last Tuesday, the day she disappeared at Dinky Creek, so we're on our way over there to see if we can just get the word out, and who knows, maybe somebody saw her. So that's where we're going. And on the way to leave another flyer.
Than I would,
Okay.
but I haven't seen any Ford Escapes come by this area.
Okay.
So,
Well, I mean, it's like that's the best lead we have since
Yeah.
we filled up with gas. So we decided, you know, come up here.
I'm a friend of Melaney Friesen Shaum, one of the daughters of Jane Friesen, for a number of years, although I haven't had recent contact with her, and have been really glued to this story of Jane's disappearance. I met her some years ago as well. And through CMAC, we're looking to put together a very quick project to let people know who Jane is, more than just seeing a poster in the local news. We wanted to help populate local media, social media, and have them understand who she is. We all have mothers and fathers, and this tugs at a lot of heartstrings. We're talking about there's prayers going out all over the world, and so this is something important to our community to rally around and keep our eyes and ears peeled. It's amazing talking to people up the road today, how many people are interested and concerned and compassionate about this. So doing something like this just helps get that word out. Thank you guys. It's been an interesting day driving up the hill here and talking to people along the way. Tell us about what's come up for you with that effort.
You know, the beauty up here just made me say, this is where Mom would love to be. I just feel like these are her favorite places. I'm hearing the wind in the trees right now. It just takes me back to my childhood when we'd all go camping together. Our vacations were always really spontaneous. We'd go to a place and we'd see something and we'd stop and we'd look at it. We'd get to a national park, we'd go to the visitor center, and then we'd meet up, and everybody from the littlest kid could say where they wanted to go and what they wanted to see, and then we would go and do as many of those things as we could. So being up here, yeah, this takes me back to my childhood. This is this is her kind of place.
I think it's probably hard for people to get a grasp of an 81-year-old woman having such a, and maybe fierce independence isn't the right descriptor, but from our chats today I've gotten that sense that she's just so independent, and your family, like you say, that's your persona as a family, that you would just feel the urge to come up to a place like this and go. Put yourself in, Jane, comes to this place to hang out. We don't know if this is where she was last Tuesday, the last day we know her whereabouts. But what would she do here? What would she go for walks? Would she sit and meditate? Tell us, just get us inside Jane's head.
Yeah, she'd probably get out of the car and go and climb up on a rock or something like that, sit and meditate. She didn't take her hat with her. So we don't think that she would have gone out in open country for any long length of time.
We know she had the capability of going a little bit off-road. How about, what would she have taken with her that day in terms of food and water?
Most likely she'd have taken a water bottle or maybe a coffee mug and maybe a piece of fruit or two. She probably wouldn't have taken, I don't think she packed a meal because Melaney, just said bye to her, and they passed each other in the kitchen. So she may have picked up a piece of fruit out of the fruit bowl, either a water bottle or a cup of coffee, and if she had coffee, then once she got up here, she'd just come to a water fountain and fill it with water, and that would be her water cup for the day, and she'd fill it when she got a chance. And there are plenty of places along here where you could do that.
We've talked about it before earlier today when you were out of sight, how there's such a calm about you in light of what's going on, or in spite of what's going on. I've talked to that a little bit about. There must be some really foundational spiritual stuff that you guys have as part of who you are.
Oh, we definitely do. My parents were in ministry when we grew up as kids, and they were in I don't know if you know where London and Delft are, out in the country between Kingsburg and Dinuba.
I do not.
But these were communities that had been like migrant camps, and then people were staying there, but rural poverty pockets. And they worked in chapels there and were like youth leaders. And a number of people, a lot actually, of the kids that they worked with, really made something of themselves. And that grounding, the idea that you keep your head, that you're there. When I was in 8th grade, we took a trip to Kansas for my uncle's wedding in the wintertime. And we had an accident in New Mexico on the way there. We were in the camper, and all 4 of us kids were up above the cab sleeping, and Mom was driving and Dad was sleeping in the cab. And Mom says, what's that guy doing in my lane? She had been a bus driver. She kept her head so level that she didn't go off the road. She said she considered whether to take the head-on collision or go off the road, and she said, I don't know what's on that shoulder. It's dark, and I've got 4 kids up above me. I'll take the head-on collision rather than risking rolling this rig. And so then after this happened, my head went through the front window. There was a screen there, so I wasn't cut up or anything. I didn't go too far. but broke the window, and I screamed. And then stopped as soon as I noticed that Melaney was crying. And then I clicked into take charge mode. And that's just the way we learned to behave. Keep your head about you, don't panic, do what needs to be done. Our family's always been like that. I can't explain it other than that's what we've always done, and it like comes naturally. That's just the way we react.
And it's hard to think of a more dire situation where you need to apply that. It's not even a philosophy, it's just a way of being that would apply right now and do you well. I want to ask you this question. It's a hard question to ask. Okay. And that is, what do you guys have to be considering every possibility, every eventuality. And do you talk about that, or is that just something that is a known? Is it the elephant in the room?
Sometimes it's the elephant in the room. When my mom was first missing, like, I called the police detective to say something that I didn't want to say in front of my brothers and sisters, but then we've ended up bringing up all of these possibilities, and it's sort of like, I don't want to say it, but yeah, we got to say it, and you just say it, and it's been said. What are the most likely things? Chief Dyer said she might be hiding, and we looked at each other and said, there's no way that she would be hiding, especially because of what happened to my dad. In 1998, he was on his way to the farmers markets in Felton and Santa Cruz, and he didn't get there one night. And he was missing for a day and a half. And it turned out that he had gotten sick. He had a chronic illness that flared up once in a while. And he had felt sick. He pulled into Casa de Fruta and checked into the motel, and he passed away there. And it was a day and a half that he was missing before we found out what happened to him. So because of that, obviously our minds are going back to what happened then. But also, it's like Mom would never do something like that to us. If she had control, she would not do something like that because she's been through it herself.
So everything's out on the table. You guys are talking about all the possibilities, but you're still full of hope. I sense that about you today. There's still... Yeah.
And, I want to know, a vehicle like that doesn't just disappear.
Yeah.
She's someplace. And why? Where? But Chief Dyer said, the first possibility is she's hiding and doesn't want to be found. We all just know that's not possible. That she had, some health problem or something like that, heart attack, a stroke or something like that, or that she had an accident. Those are within the realm of possibility. And then he said the other possibility is foul play. It's hard for us to imagine that, but the more time goes by with no trace at all after being at the gas station, it's something that we have to consider as a possibility, and yet that's the one that we have least possibility of doing anything about and finding her. So the one that seems most likely and that gives us something that we can do to contribute would be to look for her as being out in the country someplace and having an accident, or having, having had whether it would be a stroke or something like that when she's out on the road and, couldn't get back.
Yeah.
It really is, of all the possibilities, that's the only one I can really imagine. So this is the kind of place where I would look for her. That's why I went to Heartland on Monday. It's why when we heard Dinky Creek today, I said, I'm going.
Yeah. I'm glad we were here with you today.
Yeah, thanks you.
Thanks for letting us be with you.
It was nice not being alone.
Yeah.
You've heard of the staunch independence and level-headedness of the Friesen family. From their childhood, taught to investigate and enjoy their surroundings by a mother and father who exemplified and nurtured a spirit of curiosity. A father who quite tragically disappeared for a brief time before his unexpected death in a Central California tourist stop. It's unfathomable to think that a second disappearance has fallen on one family again. Our strongest hope is that Jane is found and returned to her family soon. Time is of the essence. Jane isn't just a poster. She's of able body and mind, a loving, talented, and adventurous mother and grandmother. Please be on the lookout for Jane. She is 5'7" tall, 160 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes. Her vehicle is a 2006 green Ford Escape. Call 911 with any information.
So this is Mom's kitchen. Most nights Mom made dinner for Melanie's family right here in the kitchen. For the last few years she's been retired from her catering business, but for a number of years she ran a catering business from here. So she had everything set up the way she liked it, to make a big pot of soup or something like that. This is, she does a lot of baking, pies and things like that, still does. In the morning when she left, she might have picked up a piece of fruit from a bowl here and taken it with her and just gone off for the day. That was a pretty common thing for her to do. This dining room is really the star of the show. She loves to cook and serve dinners. Over here is the suite where Mom's room